Everyone is in search of a business model, no one has one. I don't know a media business that has a business model that is secure for more than 5 years. Rupert Murdoch has admitted that his newspapers don't have a business model. Virtually every newspaper I know is in search of a business model. The old model where you could just turn up and do your stuff and people would pay you, that won't last, basically. And so this is what happened in our house on a Sunday evening a few months ago. Ned jumps down from the table, says, I'm going to go on Mum's computer, I'm going to go on a site called Miniclip. And he came back really excited. About 5 minutes later he said, it's amazing. You can't just draw, you can animate, you can make cartoons. In the course of the next hour he makes 2 more cartoons. In an hour he went from not being able to do something to thinking he could do something. But this explains, in part it seems to me, the crisis of these industrial era business models. Imagine the media industries and cultural industries as a sort of vast beach. Businesses that had print plants or television studios or distribution networks or scarce spectrum or things like that. They were great big boulders. You had to go and work for one of the boulders in order to have a career in media. And so new boulders appearing was a very rare thing because they were big, they were cumbersome, lots of money, lots of people, very difficult to do. On that beach now, every minute, hundreds of thousands of people are coming and dropping pebbles. And the pebbles are blogs, pictures, videos, games, you name it. And this rising tide of pebbles is threatening to engulf many of the boulders. So in future, I think there'll only be 3 kinds of media businesses. There'll be boulder businesses, but the boulders to survive will have to be even bigger than they are now. There'll be a desperate sort of struggle in the middle where lots of businesses which are sort of think boulder try to be pebble. And basically from now on, it seems to me, all new media businesses will be pebble businesses. And they'll either be about making pebbles or collecting pebbles, or providing buckets for pebbles, or aggregating pebbles, or just finding all the white pebbles and linking them up, or what have you. The cultural industries now are in a state of civil war. Everyone is fighting everyone. So old is fighting old, because newspapers are competing with other newspapers. There's a ferocious competition between old and new. New is competing with new as well. There's a user engagement issue. Who creates content, where is it created, and there's also an open and closed issue. How much openness is there about what content can be created and who controls it? You can create, you can share, but actually we're going to put some rules or some framework around that which allow us to make some money from what you're doing. Apple is definitely one of the most interesting examples of a company with a mutual media model which is very, very commercially focused, very closed and open at the same time. And Facebook, it seems to me, will be fatally compromised between knowing how to handle the social and the commercial. And as soon as you go towards the more commercial, more control, you endanger the more social and more open. The organisational skills to make mutual media work is one of the biggest challenges, I think, for the public sector. A lot of this will come from renegades, pirates, people breaking the law. The biggest change over the next 10 years is going to be a shift from networks to clouds. And I think what I mean by cloud is something much more sort of metaphorical. Have these clouds of activity and meaning that we can draw from, add to, get meaning from, be creative with. So in a way we're going from an internet where there was a sort of degree of design and control, but it was quite localized, to something where these clouds will be created and they'll be managed by organizations. And what Google is doing with books is, of course, the biggest indictment, really, of traditional copyright. There are thousands of British films that are under copyright but not commercially available. 90% of commercial literature is in that state. And so what Google is trying to do with books, given that no one else would do it, is make available those books. Is that the guys in the technology department have said, we'll just go direct to people and we'll let them decide what they're going to try and do. And so the power is shifting into the hands of people who are essentially driven by technology rather than culture. The first big challenge is from established copyright holders, the old, who don't want the transition to the new to disable them. And you can see why They would be actually quite keen on Facebook, Apple and Google being the sole cloud providers because they can do deals with those people. Basically, everyone is searching for models that will allow for more mutual, more democratic forms of cultural engagement, but which also basically pay for groceries for people who make content. Although by no means sure that they'll be able to, but they'll make efforts that they, Google, Facebook, Apple, will be the gateway, the cloud through which we will get access to television, news, information, friends, all those enjoy, search, do activities through that one kind of set of interfaces. There are lots of issues about it, but it has, I think, huge potential. And the potential is to make information and culture ever more accessible. I don't think there's any reason to think that the next 10 years won't bring change as big as the last 10 years. For the first time in America, it's cheaper to buy a child a laptop for a year, loaded with software, with a Wi-Fi connection, than it is to buy the textbooks. But the cost will be that more of our life will be Appleized. And that's the deal that we're going to have to worry about in the future, it seems to me.